Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's pick a card reading is very spiritually focused, as the title suggests. We're talking to your higher self for what they want to say to you about your spiritual progress. So we're talking very much in the spiritual realm. That doesn't mean that there wouldn't be potentially things they want to say that have to do with the material world, because we actually live out our spiritual purpose in the material world. So one is not sort of lesser or not important compared to the other, but this focus will be much more on that than anything else. So we will have a look at some everyday energies as we go through. But basically, we just want to see what they have to say to you, and really things that you could be congratulated on, things that you're doing really well with, things that you have the potential to develop even more into. All of that sort of stuff is the kind of thing that we want to explore. Yeah, and if there are any blocks that you can identify and remove so that you progress on your spiritual path even quicker, better, more creatively, more fulfillingly, and all of that kind of thing. So I don't think I need to say a lot more than that. We'll just see what they want to bring forward, what your higher selves want to bring forward for this. To help with the choice of pile, and as always, you can go to more than one if you want. There might be messages across a couple of the readings or across all of them for you, so that's up to you. But to help with the choice, if you want to just choose one and see what that says, I have used the Path of the Illuminated Soul Oracle deck and shuffled and asked for a card to be part of the theme of the message that your higher self wants to bring you around your spiritual progress. We also have some cards from the Magic and Mediums deck underneath these. I don't know what they are yet, but they're to show some of the sort of like magic and spiritual sort of energies, approaches and so forth that are part of your spiritual progress now. One that you're doing really well, and one that is an area, an opportunity for development and growth and so forth. So that sets the scene, and then we'll see what tarot has to tell us. So for the choice, for pile number 1, we have Past Life, the Gold Locket. For pile number 2, we have Answers, the Wise One. And for pile number 3, we have I Am Me, the Soul Stories, or the Soul Story. So when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, I've got the timestamps in the description box below, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you come to the reading that says Past Life, the Gold Locket. What it says on the side is, I know you, I've known you before, I want to know you again. So it's highly likely that your higher self wants to talk to you about a potential soul connection, whether it's a romantic one or whether it's a family one or a friendship one. It certainly would be one that was good, one that you would want to reconnect with. If it's not about that, then it has something to do with some past life karma that is coming through, but I think there's a heart-centered energy to it. But I think for most of you, it's probably a message about, if you think you have found the one and you're with the one, what you can really understand about your past and how that can grow. If you are looking for love, maybe it's an indication that something like that is coming in. Or as I say, this could be someone who was a lover in a past life and is now a really close friend. And it doesn't necessarily mean if you're in a relationship already that it's going to unsettle it. It's just a very profound connection that has karmic implications. If you don't believe in karma, it could be someone you knew when you were very young. Maybe you're going to meet your childhood sweetheart and start a relationship with them now. Like, who knows? But there's something about the past, probably past life, but in real terms, at the very least in the past, that your higher self thinks you would be focusing on the moment. It's heart connected. In broad terms, they want to say there's two things. One thing that you've developed really well, something else that they suggest you look at or develop to really bring about the promise of this. They say that you're extremely good at listening and hearing things. So you are an extremely good listener. You are kind of almost like preternaturally good at this. Because this is about kind of spiritual development you've had. You don't just listen to people, you really hear them. You really tune in with their energy, and you can tune in and listen for spirit guides and so forth. Probably highly clairaudient, actually, whether you realize it or not. A lot of people think clairaudient, you actually literally have to hear a voice, sort of disembodied voice. You don't have to. Sometimes it's just something that's like a series of words that drop into your head that were not connected to what you were thinking about. They've kind of come in out of left field. That's clairaudience, so I will get that sometimes when I'm reading. Apart from whatever I'm channeling, I'll also just suddenly have like a phrase go into my head, or sometimes it can be a song lyric that's put into your head or something like that. So you have that very well developed, and your higher self is saying that's part of your spiritual progress. But one of the ways to now use that is to make this profound connection to something in the past. And what would be really worth looking into, either just for this issue or as part of your spiritual development more generally, is astrology. Now, many of the people who come to this reading, these readings, because I know the nature of my collective, may already know astrology very well or do astrology or see an astrologer. So if that's the case, then I think your higher self is saying there is something in your chart and another person's chart that is really worth looking at, because you will be able to literally, like a locket, unlock what is the potential of this by understanding the astrological connections. But otherwise, there could be something about a profound connection that you have a sense you've known before. You can listen in and feel that, but to really understand it, you can look at the astrology chart. You can look at the chart of the person. When you're talking about karmic things like where their Saturn is, how that aspects with your chart and your planets is part of that. Maybe Chiron. There are various sort of planets and asteroids that could be very important to look at. Or it could be triggering you to actually take up astrology, that like understanding that relationship and that dynamic is actually inspiring to understand more. But this is a journey of understanding and integration, I think, of something from the past, integrating it back into your pathway and your future. So I think that's what your higher self wants you to focus on. And hence, as I say, using your already extremely good kind of comprehension, listening, connection skills with sort of the understanding of the map of our broader destinies that astrology gives us. So let's use tarot. Let's ask, what are you developing really well at the moment? Taking into account that this is maybe the trigger point to the next step. What blocks might exist at the moment for your spiritual progress that you can recognize and remove? And then we'll have a look at what abilities and progress are you underestimating yourself on? So what could you actually give yourself more props for and use more if you recognize that you've developed it? So firstly, what are you developing really well? And the first part might be similar to the third. You might underestimate this, but we will be kind of looking, so there might be a similarity, but we will be trying to look at two different things in this. So what are you developing really well right now? Spiritually. Eight of Swords reversed, the Fool, the Tower. Wow. Yeah, there's definitely a big breakthrough thing coming. Eight of Wands, Four of Wands. Okay. So as I say, you have this sort of clairaudient listening ability and so forth. One of the things that you're really developing well, and why a breakthrough is about to come, and I think maybe a kind of karmic clearing and a new cycle being reset with something that is maybe more harmonious and more likely to be happy than possibly the past dynamic was, is that you have a very open mind. You're very open to other people's viewpoints. You understand listening gives you more information. Empathy allows you to really understand what's going on. You have a very open mind. You're not restricted. You're open to things. You would be open to something if you met someone and you thought, yeah, I've known them before. You would be open to that concept. You wouldn't instantly go, no, they just remind me of someone. There is an open mind, and there is a very creative sense of dynamism. So your open mind both allows you to accept new and unusual things coming in, or the lightning bolt of a connection that you go, wow, this is special. But you also have an openness to positively creating something coming out of that. You don't, when we look at your block, it's certainly not going to be a mental or a belief block that's operating. And there may not be much of a block too, so we'll see what we get. But you are very open to the possibility of major change, lightning moments, meeting the one suddenly when it's sort of like, potentially soulmate, twin flame type of energy. You're very open-minded about that. You also have a sense that you've done that in preparation for a new journey. You feel like you're in a new cycle. This may be why astrology is an interesting thing for you to look at, because I think you may connect a lot with things like the cycles of the moon, or there may be certain planets that are very key to you. As you get to know your chart over a number of years, you will get to recognize what planets are really working strongly for you and what planets aren't. And there's a whole bunch of stuff about, what sign they're in and whether they're in their exaltation or detriment, and all of that is true, but there is also, how your soul interacts with it. I feel as though there is a planet in your chart that if you understand its cycles, and they might be fairly rapid, it could be the moon and you change and move and you're very free in how you think, but it could be sort of something like Pluto. So Pluto having gone into Aquarius is a major thing for you because you very much work with the cycles of Pluto and the energies of Pluto, for instance. It just depends on who's coming to this reading, but there's some new cycle starting and your open mind allows you to do that. You don't look at the end of the old as something awful. You see it as liberation and creativity. And this is meant to bring you into harmony with others. And it's one of the reasons why you're in harmony with others, because you're not fixed. Like you're not the sort of person who goes, this is the only way something can be. This is the only way that we can look at this. You're open to a lot of different ways of interpreting things, and that different people would look at things differently. And you're very good at understanding and knowing that. So you can deal with change, but there's a lightning rod relationship coming in. It doesn't have to be romance, as I say, but it's a significant one. And you are very well developed to be open to its full possibility and therefore to be able to make it harmonious. So what could potentially block you? What energies, blocks or issues could be around that you could be, if you're aware of, you can remove to maximize the promise of your spiritual path at the moment. 10 of Cups, Ace of Swords reversed, okay, King of Swords, the Lovers reversed. Okay, Star-crossed lovers. I think for some of you, and it's not going to be for everybody, but for some of you, this is the return of maybe a star-crossed lover situation, and understanding that this is a different environment, that you are freer to do whatever you need to do so you can have a good outcome is important. So just knowing that if this was sort of something where you weren't able to be together before, you can be this time around. There's much more openness or whatever. So that block can be removed pretty quickly. If that's not literally what's going on because of that kind of energy, the interesting thing for you is you are very open-minded, you're very kind, you're very caring, you're very inclusive in the true sense, not in the sort of virtue signaling sense, but you really are inclusive. What can happen to you, what can be a block to the new energy that you're normally really open to, is if you're really happy. When you're really happy, and those around you that are really happy, you may kind of unconsciously block change if you could, because it feels like, well, why would I want to disturb this beautiful nirvana-esque sort of feeling? But the point is, and you kind of underneath know this, that there are cycles. And, when something new is coming in, it's not a good idea to try and stop it because you worry that it could be not good. It's better to remember that you were able to take the last change and create something wonderful so you can do that again. And I think the reason that these two might work together, as I say, is I suspect that in a past life, because this is connecting to a past life, there was something that stopped you or blocked you. And it was the way that things were thought about. It was it was around belief. Beliefs in some way stopped a connection. And they don't do it this time, but you've got that kind of residual energy. And I think that belief stopped you from reaching the happiness. So you shifting the dial to get to a new possibility, you have to shift your belief a bit, because you do overall, you're open to change. But when there's a sort of a, particularly around love, I think, or around relationships, when things seem to be at least happy at the moment, it's sort of like, why upset the apple cart? But part of that is because there was a relationship energy, probably a loved one, that did upset the apple cart and was difficult. So you are a creature of harmony. That's partly how you listen and you understand. And you can do a lot, and you're free in a lot of ways, and you can free a lot of minds, but you think there's a limit. There's a kind of a block in there of a limit where something that is good could be disturbed because it's happened to you. I think that's all that's saying. So if you understand that's in the past, and it's an idea of the past, the new idea is trying to come through in the new environment, you can move past that block. So what abilities or progress are you underestimating in yourself at the moment? Judgment reversed, Ten of Pentacles, Ace of Wands reversed, Justice. Wow, okay. Wheel of Fortune. Okay. Part of this, the reason this is all coming up about a past life, your capacity to listen, your open-mindedness, your capacity to deal with change, all the things that you're doing really well. If you understand the block, which is the fear of the implication of going against a belief structure or something like that, but knowing that you're actually able to liberate belief structures now, what you're underestimating is that you could clear that karma and clear the karma probably of family members, a whole bunch of things. You are able to do that. You're able to kind of like almost reach into the past. You don't just listen into the present. You can listen into the past and see what created dynamics that exist at the moment and unleash not just new thought, but new passion, new energy in a more just environment. Because whatever happened to you, the culture or whatever thought it was just, but it did actually separate you from someone that you really cared about. And you may have felt you couldn't actually fight that because the greater good of the greater number was there, so why push against it? You are in a better situation now. And as a result of that, you can do that. And the reason you're underestimating it is you kind of like don't know if is it the right time to do it? Am I ready to do it? Is this going to work for me or against me? But the Wheel of Fortune is always about cycles as well too, which links us back to that. The more that you can understand the cycles in astrology, the more you can time it really well. Everything else is in play because you are very spiritually developed in understanding and as I say, in kindness and in openness to others and to change. So it's just unblocking the fear a bit of the consequences of something new and clearing that energy because of what you went through before. But you are meant to meet this person again if you haven't already, and you're meant to clear that energy. So don't underestimate yourself. But like if you need to get something that gives you a sense of timing, astrology is a good one. That makes a lot of sense. So let's see what other kind of fate or destiny kind of energy that's operating for you at the moment for you spiritually to be aware of, using a sister oracle deck to this particular tarot deck. The key, okay. This is the key. Like I almost think it's like, lockets usually don't have a key, but it's almost like the key that unlocks the locket. There is a key person either coming into your life or is just coming to your life. And that is the way you take up the new sword, the new way of growing, the new idea. You turn the Ace of Swords around. So, and you are the key to it. So it's knowing this is really, you're essential for this. Yes. Yes. Okay, so it's confirming what I just said. You're essential. Look at all those beautiful pinks and purples. That's kind of like the heart energy, love energy, and also like kind of connecting to the upper realms. So that's really beautiful. And the sun coming up. So yes. And I think when you've been watching this, if you were asking yourself something at the moment that I put that down, take that as a yes to whatever it was. And the companions, key people are coming back. This key person, but others, and you are clearing it for more than that. These people are meant to be your companions. You're meant to be helping them and they help you. But at the moment, you're the key. You're the one who has to do it because you've developed really well at dealing with change and finding harmony and being open. And maybe some of the others haven't to the same degree, but that's part of what you are meant to clear. And the more you understand the timing, the better. Okay, so let's see what it means on an everyday level. We'll just get a couple of cards for that because this is pretty high order, though it is probably around relationship energies, like love, family, friendships, that kind of thing. But let's just get a couple of everyday energies around that your spiritual progress has to take into account or can leverage if it's good. The tattoo, okay, you're the key, it's you. It may even be saying that like some sort of body art or some other way of like, through an artistic way showing what this is would be worthwhile and useful to do. Doesn't mean you have to go off and get a tattoo, but if you're interested, do it. But just make sure that whatever it is reflects your capacity to be open to change and the new and the cycles of life in some way. And strength. Look at that. Look at this. There's a real thing. There is new growth. There is new energy coming. The Tower brings in something new. This is not a repeat of the past. I think the main message really that your higher self is saying is that there is an opportunity to clear the karma of the past, to get things more into balance and more into cycle. It is not going to repeat the way, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that you are so good at hearing all perspectives, taking things through change and being open-minded. You didn't become the thing that oppressed you, which is a really big thing to congratulate you for, because often it happens. If we are oppressed, we become oppressors. This did not happen with you. So well done. Well done, Pile 1. Let's also get a couple of sigil energies for you, for your spirit to work with in navigating this. Resolving resentment, that makes a lot of sense. Releasing past trauma, turning away from anger. So if you have carried anything, I think by and large, to a large extent, you haven't carried it through, but there may be a little bit of residual stuff, and that might be what's the block and holding that back. The past is the past. Let go of that because you're ready to create a new future. And success, yeah. And then success is pretty much assured, obtaining what you have worked towards. You are going to get the good outcome. It's going to work this time. Something kept you, really was kind of like star-crossed lovers. Something kept you apart before, but that's going to shift. Let's get a little bit of astrology energy around it as well, particularly since astrology is important to you. So firstly, we have Saturn in the 4th house. On an emotional island. Okay. So Saturn in the 4th house, karma in family. This has, some of the karma around this has to do with family. It could have been that it was family opinions that kept you apart from somebody before. It could be that this is more around family relationships. It's not around romantic love. It doesn't really matter what it is. It's a heart connection. But this is clearing that energy and feeling protected while you're able to do it. But you have felt a bit on an emotional island, but you don't need to because you are so good with people, Pile 1. And we have North Node in the 2nd house and Taurus. Find joy and simplicity. You get back to what the heart wants, what you really, and the simplicity of like, what are the core things that people are saying to you and all of that kind of thing. You're meant to have the life that you want to create. You're meant to have the good life with the North Node in Taurus. So this is meant to break not just relationship patterns, but on a bigger sense, bring in the kind of life that you would want. And we have the North Node also in the 1st house. So it's also, yes, what do you want? It's maybe helping family and others, but it's also helping you. And you do need to be assertive to do that. So it's like it's balancing off hearing others and what they need and what they want and clearing energy for them and helping them create the life they want. But it's also for you to be able to present yourself in the way that you want to be able to be clear. And you have a gift here. Like I think many of you could be an amazing astrologer if you actually took it up. I think that Spirit might want some of you to do that. It may be something to do with how you create the life that you want, and it's part of your next step. But certainly being assertive about what you want to do and what you understand, because you have a higher degree of understanding of these dynamics than most of the people around you. Okay, last but not least, I wanted to get a message for you from your inner witch, and I'm going to do what I've been doing quite a bit lately, which is ask you to choose a number from 1 to 5. Pause if you need to do that, because depending upon which number you choose, that will be the area, energy, synthesizing message, or whatever else that your inner witch, as part of your spirituality, wants to tell you using the Venice Witch Oracle deck. So if you chose number 1, empathy, yeah, you are incredibly empathic. I'll get to this, but if you chose number 1, empathy. If you chose number 2, mirror. If you chose number 3, celebration. If you chose number 4, nature. And if you chose number 5, mother. Okay. So if you chose number 1, your empathy is one of your greatest gifts, and it's one of the reasons that you can do things. Having said that, it's also the potential for the block, because in that block with that 10 of Cups, if you feel for others and people seem to be happy even if you're not happy, you may find it hard sometimes to do that, be assertive. and rock the boat a bit to make it something that you can be happy in as well too. So empathy needs to heighten your understanding of things and your connection with others, but it shouldn't be a straitjacket, pile one. If you chose number 2, mirror, there is something in this person coming in that mirrors not only the past life, but mirrors you. I do think that anybody who chose number 2, it's a very strong soul twin energy, but the recognition is this, it's almost like 2 parts of the same whole in this connection. If you chose number 3, you celebrate. Things are really going to work out well. Like, trust in that. This is meant to be a very good time for you. If you chose number 4, nature, I think this is getting to understand your own nature. That's again why astrology is so important, I think. It's really the more you understand yourself, the more you can unlock the thing with the key, because you are the key, so you need to understand that. And if you chose number 5, it's possible that this is not about love. It might be about your relationship with your mother. It might have been your mother from a past life, or you may have been a mother and you may be now meeting someone who was a child in a past life. Whatever it's about, though, there's a nurturing sense. And so in clearing the energy and clearing the past and bringing a new cycle in, there's something almost about giving birth to what could be new and nurturing and protecting that for you. So I hope that resonates for you. It's actually really lovely. I hope that you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with Answers the Wise One. What it says to the side is, empty the mind, my child. What you are looking for can be found deep within. What this would definitely tell me is that your higher self wants to say that whatever you are trying to develop and grow in spiritually, it is within you already. It's really just a matter of finding it, understanding it, waking it up. I think what your higher self is wanting to talk to you about spiritually is moving from a kind of protective, very, very strong and very well-meaning protective energy into a growth energy. And the reason I say that is that this is an energy that you're doing really well spiritually. This is an energy that would pay to start to develop and focus on. So we start with guardian. So I feel that you are extremely good at not only connecting with your own guides and guardians, but protecting. It's almost like protecting something spiritually pure, protecting a spiritual vision, and protecting that which is yours and that which you care about. I think you are naturally a very protective person around those who you know. People would naturally gravitate to you for security, for wisdom. Like, you really do exude the wisdom. It's like whether you realize it or not. And so you feel almost, it's almost like I'm getting kind of the Delphic Oracle, the keeper of the flame, the keeper of the mysteries, watching over the Holy Grail, like those sort of energies you're very, very good at. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's really important to protect that which is precious. But what your higher self wants you to think about is how do you grow that? I mean, if you looked at it in the most 3D way, just to give an example, and it's not spiritual, but to give an example, this is somebody who's been very good at building a certain amount of wealth, a certain amount of security, and watching over that and maintaining that, even as fortunes rise and fall in the financial markets, or even somebody who has inherited money. And I'm not saying this is the case, it's to give you an idea of the energy we're talking about. And so you have that and you've guarded over it. You certainly weren't one of those people who inherited money and then just spent it all. Because they do say a lot of people inherit money or win money and they just spend it all. That's why I always think when people go, oh, that person's rich because they had a rich parent, it's kind of missing the point. The greater majority of people who have rich parents don't become rich, quite the opposite. So, but you could, with this, you're very good at guarding, you're very good at maintaining, say in that case, the material benefits that you have at the moment. But this is saying you could actually grow them. You have that capacity to manifest and bring in abundance. So you could move from this is what I have in the bank to this is what it grows to, when I really start to focus on using my spiritual insights and so forth, not just to protect a certain amount, but to grow it, and to be able to help others and to have largesse and all that kind of thing. So on a spiritual level, you have developed a lot of ability and you're very good at maintaining that. So the other thing that I'm getting is that this is wisdom, you're very consistent. You walk the talk. So if you've developed a spiritual ability of empathy and caring for others, you actually do something with that. It's not like you get it, go, oh, aren't I virtuous, and then do what you like. Again, there are quite a few people in a quote unquote spiritual community that do exactly that. You see it in kind of cult-like communities where the leaders say, oh, I've achieved enlightenment, and then they act abominably to the people that are with them. I've seen that a few times, and it's interesting to watch because it's sort of like if they had ever reached enlightenment, it's almost like it dwindles away. They can't protect it by walking the talk. So you do walk the talk, but you could do more. You could grow this. You could literally, as I say, make it something that's abundant in the material world, but it could also be abundance of sort of spiritual knowledge. Like I literally think here, this person's holding an apple, so there could be growth, like you've achieved a certain, like this could be you've achieved a certain level of enlightenment or initiation, and this is to go to the next level and get to the true mysteries. There's something about growth here, but it's because you've been able to attain something and maintain it and be consistent with it spiritually that this is possible. It's not you can't just leapfrog and say I'm just going to be abundant because I want to be. You've got to show that you could be responsible with what you could achieve, and I think that your higher self is saying the spiritual world has seen that, and so would be open to that. So let's have a look firstly with tarot about what you're doing really well. Then we're going to look at what kind of blocks might there be or issues that you could be aware of and then remove so that you move more to both these things, because you're not letting go of this. It's just adding to your kit bag. And then we'll have a look at what might you be underestimating in yourself spiritually. So what are you doing really well at the moment? The Hierophant reversed, the Three of Wands reversed, the Page of Pentacles reversed, the Queen of Pentacles, the Four of Swords. Okay. You are one of the reasons that with this wisdom and your inner wisdom and going into your inner wisdom as opposed to listening to other people, because the Hierophant reverse, don't listen to other people, don't listen to dogma. One of the reasons that you could do this is that you are a very original thinker. So whatever you've developed to date, whether you realize it or not, has been maybe at most 50% what you've learned from others and 50% what was within, because anything you come at, and whatever you learn or do, you do have a different way of looking at it, to the point sometimes that people might almost find it heretical, but it's different. You don't follow somebody else's drum. So what you develop, you protect because it's yours. It's innately yours. And you are able to commit to that even before you see the outcomes, but you're able to keep it private. Like this is why, it's funny, I keep getting these things coming across my YouTube feed at the moment about various manifestation things. And I'm not a big manifestation person personally, but I just find some of them interesting. I just watch them sometimes just to see what they say. And one of the things that seems to be said quite often is have the intention, build the intention, and then don't tell anybody about what you're doing. And that feels like that's there. And it's like you can believe in it and stay committed to something and guard what is precious before you know what growth will come. It's almost as though because it comes from you, the inherent worth is, you already know the inherent worth. You don't have to wait for some sort of materialization of the inherent worth. So you can stay committed and you can stay silent on it. But I do think that the abundance may be then to bring in something that shares it with others and teaches others in some way. But yeah, you're very much your own person. So it's almost like you can protect what it is because people don't even know it's there. So you're very clever on that level. But, the things that make us strong can also bring blocks. So what blocks or issues might be there that your higher self wants you to be aware of? Lovers reversed, Justice, the Wheel of Fortune reversed, Five of Wands reversed. Okay. This ability has, you question, this is a better way of saying it, whether you should have more. And I think, if you go within, you're going to find that, the thing that created what you have and you're protecting can also create more, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I actually think that you you worry a little bit. And part of the reason why you don't necessarily tell people what you're doing or what you're protecting is you worry about conflict. If you know, so for instance, if you were, in a team leader position and you really are ready for being a manager or an executive or something, you worry a bit if you actually went for that, whether that would cause disharmony. So you kind of sometimes don't grab the opportunities when they come to you. You say it's not the right time or that could cause disharmony. But you also you kind of think everything has to be just and right. I think probably in past lives, but maybe also in this life, you've had some fallout from people due to jealousy or people thinking you got something given to them. I think that might be why I was getting the inheritance thing. And it doesn't mean you have to have inherited money or something. But I feel as though at some point, either in this life or in another life, you run into problems with people because your ability to build, create abundance and to protect it and maintain it has been resented. And it's almost been presented to you as something unjust. And it may be because you were born into it. It'd be like, if you were in time of the French Revolution or something, if you were in the court of Marie Antoinette, then, people might have resented you, even though it had nothing to do with you, really, because that was a system you were born into, as an example. So I feel like within you, there's a kind of too much is too much, It's sort of like, and so it's how do you allow for growth without feeling that it gets out of balance? But the thing is that because this is what you are, it's not as though it'd be a bit like you had like a plot of land and you could build a garden on it. And then you start thinking, well, if I build my garden, then other people may not have a garden. So, is it bad for me to have a big garden that's just mine? But on the other hand, if you don't build a garden, there's going to be no garden at all. So it's sort of like, I think it's starting to understand that when you are ready to be the good steward of abundance, then the time is right. So stop worrying about whether other people are going to be jealous. So then let's have a look at where you underestimate yourself, which could connect a lot with this block. The Devil, Four of Pentacles reversed, Nine of Cups reversed, the Empress, the Tower reversed. Okay. You do kind of think money is the root of all evil. Like, I do think this is about like using your spiritual ability to create more. And the thing is to know that if you do that, you will help others. You will nurture others. Like, at the moment, you're protecting what you need to protect, because at the moment, for people to know about it, you're a bit worried about the jealousy, but also it hasn't grown to its full potential. So it'd be a bit like being a mother and having like a 1-year-old and then giving it to the community and not knowing how the child was going to grow up. You don't even hand over your child to a school until they've grown a certain way. So the reality about this is you're the right person for this, because you're the only one who can create it at this point, and you would share it. You underestimate that. And that, you underestimate your capacity through your caring and your nurturing to keep everything under control, to stop it from collapsing. I do think some of you have been in some very, very politically volatile past lives where you were privileged and you've suffered for it. I do. And I think that you have both brought in a fear of that, and you've also brought in a kind of a sense of social justice. So, but this is saying your fear, you don't need the fear, you can control it. And your sense of social justice will mean that you will share it amongst others. You have the wisdom, it's all within you. But you're underestimating what your dream could be, because you feel that not only is money the root of all evil, it's a trap, and eventually it dissolves anyway. So you're underestimating even what you're good at now. You're underestimating your capacity even to maintain what you are protecting. And so you're putting all your focus into that, but you can grow it. And in growing it is a way of maintaining it as well. So very interesting energy here. You're blocking your own manifestation in a way, because partly fear of reprisals or resentment, but partly also because you feel like, oh, do I deserve it? But as I say, we go right back to it's something that only you can do. So it's not like someone else is going to get it if you decide to selflessly give it up. It's just not going to happen. So that's worth knowing. So let's have a look at some like other sort of fate energy around all of this that's connected with the sister oracle deck to this tarot deck. So what else can we learn about what your higher self is saying to you spiritually at the moment? Carved pathway. Like, I think, like there's probably any number of ways you could interpret this in general, but for this, I think it's pretty clear. This is showing there is a pathway that is yours. And see, like there's all these tributaries and others can and yes, you could go off the path, of course, because you have free will. But ultimately there is a pathway that is just yours. And others are not joining at an angle that would allow them really to own it too. There is something here that is your destiny, your pathway. And it's really important to claim that. Secondly, inner peace. Yeah, inner peace. It's all the answers are within, as it's saying. It's very Zen-like looking frog there. Like go within. The answers are within. Find the peace within. This is not happening to you because of just dumb luck. This is happening because of who you are, and you're allowed to embrace that. In fact, you're kind of meant to embrace it, Palto. And then, yeah, introspection. Go within. This is a tree of life too to me here. This is your connection to who you are. I think that you have a very strong connection in the Kabbalah to Binah, the Divine Mother. And again, that's about abundance. It's about nurturing, all of those things. Plus, the snake with the apple came down in the tree and brought wisdom. Like, this is about wisdom. Some of this is because you are wise. It's like your wisdom is the only thing that can do this, Palto. Okay. Let's see if that's the kind of very esoteric. What's a couple of areas of everyday energy that might kind of connect in with this spiritual progress, either as challenges or as blessings? Oh, that's funny. That came up for one of the others, and exactly that point. Tattoo. This is you. This is you. And maybe that's something as a suggestion. If you find it a little bit hard to fully own this, maybe, whether it's a tattoo or some other form of body adornment or the clothes that you wear, like do something that kind of claims it on that level, because it is yours. You're meant to claim it. And the takeaway. Okay. That may be the main takeaway, is it's yours to claim it. Like sometimes when that card comes out, it's like whatever was just said is the takeaway you're most meant to get. But it's also, I think, a thing about don't underestimate the value of what you do and the nourishment that you could bring. Like you've got the pizza compared to the apple. Like don't underestimate the wisdom that you could bring and the nourishment you could bring to others. Okay, let's also get you a couple of magical sigils to protect you or give you further guidance from your higher self. Okay, Archangel Zavkael, Archangel of Binah. Yeah, you're very connected to Binah. Snap. You really are. Important decisions, clarity of communication. This is an important position. There's communication. Yeah, there's a key takeaway here. Like, this is yours. Own it. Own it, Paltu. I'm not wanting to boss you around, but I'm feeling like, yeah, your higher self has a point here. And Zavkael is all about new beginnings as well too, and the karmic cycle and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, Binah, very strong abundance, divine feminine, Demeter, all those kind of energies around this. Sophia, any of those. And love, okay, affection and caring, compassion for others. And part of this is because you do love other people. And it also is, what is precious? What do you love? Maybe that's the main way to sort of start. But you will share with others and you will nurture others. This comes from your heart. What blocked it in past lives was more political, I think, social and political. But this comes from your heart, and that's why, it's actually an important thing to take forward. Okay, let's just get you a little bit of astrology as well to see what we can add to the messages. So firstly, we have Mercury in the 5th house, vocally creative. So yeah, it could be something that you have to say. It could be something that you creatively get a message out there. But otherwise, maybe think about, because Mercury in the 5th house, vocally creative, are you tricking yourself? Like, this is also a thing. Mercury is wonderful, but sometimes we can talk ourselves out of things. So Don't allow yourself to talk. Use your Mercury to be creative about how to grow and become abundant, not about talking to yourself about all the reasons that you shouldn't do it. Then we have Jupiter in the third house, socially expansive. It's also communication, using your you have very strong communication skills. So saying this is part of it to bring you, like the benefic growth of Jupiter. Your communication skills are important, but you do also feel a little bit more comfortable around other people and around this. I don't think you're going to hit the kind of resentment you hit in whatever the past life was. And Jupiter in the seventh house, around relationships as well, cooperative. So this is something that only you can do. But having said that, it doesn't mean you can't share, teach, and cooperate in other ways, or use the energy from it to cooperate in other ways. You're not an island. You might sometimes feel with that card pathway like you are, but you actually aren't. Okay. So to finish off, we just want to get a message from your inner witch. We're using the Venice Witch deck, and I'm going to ask you to choose a number between 1 and 5. And depending upon which one you choose, that will be your message from your inner witch. And if you need to pause because I'm about to deal them out. Okay, if you chose number 1, empathy. Oh, that's interesting. I felt exactly that point for pole number 1 too. I think some of you are connected to both. If you chose number 2, evolution. If you chose number 3, love. Wow, look at that. If you chose number 4, duality. If you chose number 5, journeys. Okay. So if you chose number 1, it is your empathy that both will be your protection when you grow to abundance. You are not going to lose your sense of social justice and caring, but it's also the thing that's holding you back a bit. So you just need to be aware of that. If you chose number 2, this is an evolutionary thing for you. It's like if the caterpillar tried to just stay the caterpillar, it probably would be a very good caterpillar, but it won't be the butterfly. There is an evolution in this. Think of it as an evolution. And that, you may even in that case, if you chose number 2, there may be almost an investment you have to do with some of this, because the caterpillar dissolves completely to create the butterfly. So there might be something about something that you've built. You maybe almost need to deconstruct it to bring in the next stage. If you chose number 3, this is all about the connection of the heart. Your heart will protect you. It's also the thing that's held you back a bit, but it will bring love and good connection for you. If you chose number 4, you do give yourself a hard time about your own shadow self, actually. We all have shadow within us, but I don't think in this case it's particularly dominant. You have the wisdom to know how to deal with it and how to balance things. And yes, we live in a dualistic world, so one of your issues, I think, is that for you to grow, does that mean someone else has to have lack? Yes and no, I would say. But the reality is if you're the only one who can grow this, then it's like everybody lacks if you don't do it. And if you chose number 5, journeys, you may need to travel for some of this. You may need to go and live somewhere else. You may need to go and study somewhere else. There is something about exploring and not just protecting something, but using some of it to explore for what you can grow into. So I hope that resonates for you, Pile 2. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, Pile 3, to your reading. So I have to say right from the outset, I think it's going to be a very interesting reading because for a start, you came to the I am me, the soul story. What that says on the side is typography of the soul writes its own words, the story of you. So this is a very key message from your higher self about your soul. In fact, I think it's actually a message from your soul, which is kind of as an oversoul, probably above your higher self or whatever. So it's a very high order message that's coming to you, and it's about your very long-term trajectory soul path. Now, I believe in reincarnation, so when I talk about that, I talk about the soul. I talk about the soul having a perspective that is from the first time you were a spark coming out of the divine to when you return to the divine. Like it's probably over eons and numerous lives. So it often is a bit of a dispassionate message, I have to say, when it comes through on that level. It often doesn't feel kind because your soul will often think, oh, well, you're having a really difficult time. That's great. You're going to develop out of it, as opposed to, oh, wow, your higher self normally, or your own sort of spirit within is going to be more sensitive to what's going on. So this right from the outset might be a bit of a challenging message. It may not be, but with that there probably is. But nevertheless, it's for the good, but it's like understanding the dynamic, because this is what you're really good at already, and it's probably why your soul thinks you're ready for this message. So we have release. You are good at releasing energy that is no longer serving you, that is negative, that is of the past. So you're not carrying a lot of, resentments or issues or, distorted desires or unrealized desires. Like, you are able to release things. You kind of travel light. It doesn't mean that you're superficial or anything, but you are able to release it. You've done a lot of work, a lot of shadow work, I would guess, to do this, either in this life or in other lives, or in both. You're naturally very good at that. I feel like you're the sort of person who you might get angry or react to something and then it will be gone. You don't kind of hold on to those negative emotions for a long period of time, and it's necessary to go through the true evolution. But what you are developing into, or where your soul thinks you need to focus on next, is sacrifice. Now, that could be understanding when and where sacrifice is appropriate and when it isn't. Okay, so it could be that if you are at this point able to let go of anything that's negative, you might have a tendency to put yourself up as almost a sacrifice because you're able to let go of that energy and others aren't. At its absolute extreme, there could be a kind of martyrdom thing here. And I don't mean it in the kind of whiny sort of psychological way, like, oh, I'm a martyr, look how I suffer for you. It's not that. You would be really serious with this. You would be like Sir Thomas More saying, no, I can't say that Henry VIII is the head of the church, and therefore more like what the saints do in a way is kind of what I'm saying. But like that may or may not really be appropriate, and it's like what is or necessary. But because you're good at that, because you're able to travel light, you might do that. So I think that your soul is asking you to think about that. It could be that something is coming up where you would need to sacrifice something, and you are strong enough to do it to help others who aren't. And so that could be your ability that way. But it could also be you need now to, if you let go of most of the feeling of something in the past, you need now to actually examine what brought that about. What were the systems that you were in? And has it happened in your life? Have you tended to sacrifice something? Have you given up years of your youth to look after an ailing parent? Or have you given up some of your dreams so a younger sibling can have theirs, or something like that? Like, there's something like that operating here, and it's asking you to look at it. So it will be interesting to see what we get with tarot, because we're going to firstly ask, what are you doing really well at? Then we're going to ask what the block is, and it will probably tell us something around this. Like, what issues are there that you could be aware of and now process and let go of? And you are good at letting go of things. So it probably is just a matter of like seeing how it all fits in and understanding the undercurrents of it all. And then what do you underestimate yourself with? So we're using tarot to do this. So firstly, let's see a little bit more about what you're really good at the moment that your higher self and or your soul level wants to talk to you about and wants to congratulate you on. King of Cups reversed, Ten of Swords reversed, Page of Pentacles, Three of Wands, Justice reversed, yeah. You've been through some interesting times, whether it is in this life, it could be in this life, or it could have been in other lives. But what I can say is you're kind of like the wounded healer. You are able to take on a lot more than most other people. You absorb a lot. You tend to get drawn into situations of injustice in one form or another, certainly in other lives, but potentially in this life as well. You're kind of a universal witness. I know that might sound like a strange thing, but that is the real power. And that might be why you have to understand sacrifice and work out when that requires a sacrifice and being right in the sort of center of something, and when it requires a little bit more detachment. The reason I say that is I feel really strongly with the Page of Pentacles there that you're meant to almost record what is happening. Like, I feel like literally like a book in that case. It's like because you're able to release the energy, you can keep a more dispassionate record of what's occurred. It'd be almost like being coming your soul having come from the Akashic records or something, and then you come down onto earth and you're almost like a recorder, or connected to the Archangel Metatron, who's a scribe. Like there's something like that about you. So that's part of it, and it's part of the reason why you get drawn into these sort of things of injustice. And you're partly about recording it. It's almost like recording it so the same mistake doesn't happen again. But you're also about helping others heal and move forward after the drama. But I think that sometimes it's positioned you in a way where you've suffered for it. Like what it makes me think of is I remember seeing a mini-series about the rise of a particular German despot around the World War II. You have to be careful what you say in terms of names on YouTube, so I'm sure you know who I'm talking about. And in it, there were one of the characters, I think Matthew Modine played the character from memory, was a journalist. And that was a situation where, like he would have been recording what was going on, but because he was recording something that was looking at, the excesses of this new power structure that was coming in, he did suffer for it. He did keep a record that was important, but he did suffer for it. I think that's happened to you. Whether it's happened in this life, I don't know, but it certainly has happened in others. And so understanding that, understanding when a sacrifice is necessary and when it isn't, is somehow important for this life and your soul's journey now. So what could be blocks or issues for you in getting to that understanding and getting that balance right? Star reversed, Eight of Cups reversed, the Hermit reversed, Page of Wands. Okay, I think that you're a very interesting group, I've got to say. And you make me think there's actually a type of spiritual being, which this group represents, that maybe we don't even understand exists in everything, but like you do. I think you are like emissaries or something like Archangel Metatron or something like that. I think you are meant to be born into very pivotal times in history, to record what happens, to support where you can, to help others release that energy so that the evolution more generally can occur. And you're meant to be a little bit detached from it. You are meant to be more an observer than a participant, because this is saying there is something here about you get very emotionally drawn into something and you want to speak out and you want to be involved, but this is not your story. You are like a journalist of the story. But when you do that, you kind of like blur the lines and you become, as I say, a sacrificial lamb almost. And look, sometimes maybe I'm feeling from your soul that does help because you become a symbol of something. Like for one of you might have been Joan of Arc, for instance, and you came in to sort of like as a kind of, maybe prophets are like this. Maybe you like kind of you're sort of in the world, but you're sort of not. And she tells the Dauphin things work for a while, then when they aren't working as well, she suffers the consequences because she didn't just come and observe and chronicle and so forth. She actually got involved. I think that for you is the thing to work through. And it's not saying you can't get involved, but it's understanding the implications of that. Because your role is a bit different. That's what it's trying to say to you. It's an interesting role. So then, what are you underestimating in yourself? King of Pentacles reversed, Eight of Swords reversed, the Fool, Ace of Cups reversed, oh wow, okay. It's a lot that's mythical in this group, I've got to say. It's like, as I say, it's like I get all kinds of different times in history and all kinds of different mythologies. But what I would say is what you're underestimating is, yes, the role is like being a journalist and an observer and helping to chronicle and release things for the greater evolution, which is a pretty big job. And yes, you can get drawn into it sometimes because you're in the material world and that happens, and you need to understand that and the implications and when that is necessary and when it isn't necessary. And so that's important. It's important for this life for some reason. But the other thing that you may be underestimating is how much you were born in a time for a reason. as I say, I think you were born in a time when major change is occurring in a system, political, material, social, cultural, something like that. And you are here to help liberate. So it's not just that you chronicle what happens, but it is your capacity to release and understand and articulate that is actually really powerful. You are an agent of change for the new. It's almost like what it sort of feels like is, like if you were writing a series of books, like some sort of fantasy novels, you have to finish the first novel to get to the next one. So it's sort of like, and you have to almost free enough of the story and enough of what happens and have enough of a payout to then go to the next stage. And at some point, you've got to stop writing the first book so that you can write the second as well. So I think that there's something here about it is an observer, it is a chronicler, it is a releaser, it is someone who's meant to understand. And it does sometimes call you into the middle of it all in a kind of way where you could sacrifice. And you would sacrifice yourself before others, I've got to say. But don't underestimate how pivotal you at this time are. In whatever you do, it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you run a political group or you run a local paper or you're just, an accountant. And I'm not saying just an accountant, but, like not necessarily in the middle of a political or social upheaval. There is something about you that observes and releases and helps a new come in. And I feel like this group, you're kind of positioned in a whole range of different levels and a whole range of different things, but it all comes together to create what's necessary, which is to heal the land. This feels very Arthurian, find the grail and bring a better outcome. So this is the other point. This is where it circles back around to this pile 3, because it's like, it's not meant to be a bad outcome. It has been for you in the past. It's not meant to be. This is meant to actually reawaken something that is good. So I think that's what your soul wants you to know. Okay, so let's see some other sort of fate energy around this that your soul wants to talk about, because I'm saying your soul rather than your higher self for this one, because I think it is your soul talking to you. This is using a sister oracle deck to this tarot deck. So what else do we get? Unveiling truth. Yeah. And that's a risky thing sometimes, but that is what this is about, getting to the truth. Alchemy. Yeah, it's the process of like burning out the old to bring in the new. It's a very alchemical thing. Maybe some of the alchemists of the past were like you as well, because they are kind of the scientific method of observation and experimentation could fit with this. And, alchemy kind of birthed the chemistry. And thirdly, Serpent's Gambit. Okay, so what do you do with wisdom and what is the risk associated with it? So knowledge, understanding, the higher soul, what is the risk that's associated with it? Serpents are about knowledge, but there is risk when you're talking about Gambit. There is always a risk for you around this. You can alchemize the truth, but there is a risk associated with it. But I think in this one, it's actually supposed to work out. Don't underestimate your capacity to make it work out this time and not to end up in this sort of sacrificial energy around it. Okay, let's see what kind of everyday energies might apply to this message. Goblin mode. Okay. I think this is just saying, there's a lot going on. Sometimes just go and enjoy things and don't feel you have to do everything. Like occasionally just self-indulge, because you could be a little bit self-sacrificial sometimes. So take time out when you need it. And yeah, the rut. Okay. What might trigger you into doing this and releasing things is when you've kind of got a little bit stuck and you're feeling in a rut. So this may be for you a bit of a symbol when something is coming up that you're going to release and going to bring this energy in. But you're meant to unstick and free an energy, so that kind of fits. But don't feel you have to do it all, and you're allowed to have some time off and have some fun as well, pile 3. Because this sounds really serious, but you are allowed to enjoy yourself as well. Let's get you a couple of sigil protections, a bit of sigil magic for you. Waiting. Expectation and hope delayed by time. So at the moment you might be good at releasing, but you're thinking like, when does it happen? Don't feel like you have to pull the trigger. You're going to know. You'll come out of that rut. If you try and pull the trigger too quickly, that's when it could become self-sacrificial. Wait for the right time. And resolving resentment, releasing past trauma, turning away from anger. So you probably do have trauma that you need to release. You actually can do it really well, but I think that it's also resolving, kind of like, if it's happened in this life, it's resolving some of that and letting that go. But I think it's also resolving an understanding of what happened, and like, so that if there was a sacrifice or something like that, you actually chose to do it because it was necessary on balance. But this time around, you probably won't need to. So you're not, the divine isn't sending you here just to suffer. The divine is sending you here to help others release and to do the narrative and to observe and to be able to help the evolution of the collective. So it's like, don't resent it, and like, the time will come when it's right, but it is meant to work out better this time round. Like, I don't think it's going to be as dire as it has been in past lives, or even if you've dealt with something now in life, kind of the worst is over. It's better from here, pile 3. Let's get some astrology energy as well for you. It's very interesting. You're a very interesting group. I didn't sort of realize this type of thing could be happening, but it kind of makes sense. Okay, so firstly, we have Neptune in the 4th house, unmatched purity of heart. Yeah, you do have a lot of purity of heart. You do, because you release all this energy. You're not really carrying that. But the purity of heart, again, that Joan of Arc thing, can... you've got to also protect yourself. It's okay to protect yourself. Cancer is a protective sign. So protect your spiritual ability, protect yourself. Then we have Jupiter in the 1st house, exuberant. Yeah, and have a bit of fun. Like, it's not all meant to be serious. Have a bit of fun. And Jupiter in the 7th house, be cooperative, connect with others. Others will help. Find the cooperation, find the allies or whatever. It's, again, taking away from the sacrifice into something that's more about healing and coming into a better way of being, a better world, or whatever it is. Okay, so to finish off, we're just going to get a message from your inner witch using the Venice Witch Oracle. So I just want you to choose a number between 1 and 5. If you can do that quickly, that's fine. If you need to pause, do that, because I'm just going to start dealing it out. And whichever number you chose is your synthesizing final message from your inner witch. So if you chose number 1, we have abundance. If you chose number 2, we have death. If you choose number 3, we have art. If you choose number 4, we have father. And if you chose number 5, we have celebration. So number 1, abundance. This is you're meant to actually get a reward. So don't go down the self-sacrifice path. Understand you're allowed to have abundance. You're allowed to have a reward. Like, you're kind of detached and you're an observer, but it doesn't mean you can't enjoy the things of this world. You're in this world, so enjoy them. If you chose number 2, I don't think this is anything about a literal death any more than the tarot card is about a literal death, but there is a transitional energy. I think it's also pointing to the fact that at least one life you actually was sacrificed literally for something. That's why I got the Joan of Arc thing, why I got the character in World War II. I think that has happened. But this is more like a transition in this life. It's not, and it's like going up a staircase. It's going towards something brighter. So it's a better outcome. It's not, the past is not going to repeat. It doesn't need to repeat, actually. I think that's the point. For evolution, it should evolve. It shouldn't just be kind of endlessly doing the same thing. If you chose number 3, then there's something deeply creative about what you do, and it could be something out of art or creativity where you actually manage to record and show things. It's also saying literally don't sacrifice your creativity for some other purpose, that you have come in with that. If you chose number 4, you could have either a very positive or a very difficult relationship with your father. You could be a father to someone else, regardless of gender, in terms of that kind of protective energy. There could be karmic things around your father. Or I'm feeling like, as I say, I keep going back to Archangel Metatron. I feel almost like Metatron is like a fatherly figure for you. And it's again, you will be okay. You'll be protected. If you chose number 5, then you're meant to see this as something good. You've had a pattern of sacrificing and releasing. You're actually meant to get reward this time around. So this is also why for you to take the next step in your spiritual journey, you have to almost release the concept of sacrifice and embrace the concept of celebration. So I hope that registers for you. I hope it resonates. If so, please like and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.